Hey, Squirrels. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really blessed and honored to have Chaya with us here today. Um, Chaya is the CEO of Sparks Launch. She is a staunch mental health advocate and an expert in well being, emotional well being. Most importantly, I think this is a real element of your personality. She's a visual artist, um, and just generally the powerhouse when it comes to the impact of masking on ADHD and mental health and well-being. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a life journey, and everything has been a discovery. I've experienced every single challenge that an ADHDer could possibly uh, face, and I've overcome them. Right, so to a point that I ended up giving a speech on how to find inner peace at University of Massachusetts, where I worked previously, and it was like a formula that I came up with. And if I can do it, because I was an anxious child, experienced burnout, um, anxiety plagued me, and then I've overcome it. So if I can do it, so can others, right?
I think that that resonates so deeply probably with a lot of our listeners. I know it does for me. Um, that anxiety, I know that we're sort of taught by society where we're surrounded by messaging that anxiety is not real. And I think that for people with ADHD, there's an experience of that anxiety being reinforced throughout our life. So you have anxiety. Anxiety is normally like a fear that is unrealistic. But for us, we're fearing things that really do happen all the time, like being um, discounted and pushed off to the side. And I think that that really compounds the anxiety for people with neurodivergency. Have you found that?
Yeah, you can't deny somebody else's emotions, right? And so if somebody says you can be anxious, well, they are, so you can't really deny how they're feeling, right? So that's one thing, that because we don't know what anybody's going through. Figuring out what's happening to me now. So how can I even judge somebody else? Right. And so what they are experiencing is valid. Um, and but I'm here to say, once you understand yourself, understand who you are, how you work, and let go of time and the pressure from the external world, we can um, overcome challenges, because all the secrets are inside of us and not outside. Not by the rules created by the the society, by the systems that don't serve us.
Right. And you came to this journey through your son, right?
Yeah, thanks to him. Really, if not, I would not have matured to this level. Um, I had overcome a lot of my challenges, but I hadn't conquered anxiety fully uh, until my son brought it to the surface. Only a loved one can do that. And
Very
he was diagnosed um, at 15 with ADHD. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I have ADHD. Just looking at all the traits and how I had the challenges and how I overcame. But I realized as a mom, I hadn't conquered anxiety fully. So it was different. It was not like how I was when I was a child, but as a mom, I was problem solving, because we are problem solvers. I was solving his problem. problems, right? That's what moms do. We want our children to be happy and not go through what we went through. But that backfired. Just try telling an ADHD teenager what to do, uh, and do it your way. It's not going to work.
Why telling them anything? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So then I realized I was part of his anxiety. I was actually creating some of the trauma that he was experiencing. So that took me off on a spiritual journey and go inwards. And I read the Bhagavad Gita, which is um, an Indian, I don't know what is it is it's not religious, but it is about how to live and who you are. And so I read every single chapter a day as I was walking in the morning, and I just knew it. It was something that my soul knew, but I had to hear it. So it was not from a religious point, but it's just the principles of living, and I started implementing. So here's the thing. So we listen to so many things, and uh, and experience those aha moments, right? But it's not going to work until you actually practice it, because life puts those challenges in front of you, right? And then you have to actually uh, implement all the things that you know, right? And so when I started implementing s- uh, in small chunks, it was just magical that how I was able to let go of all the fears, because it's the fears that are making us do all these
Right.
things, right? And it's not love. So once you tap into love and do everything about love, uh, from the point of love, fearlessly, because life is going to push you to an extent where you are have to conquer every fear of how people are judging you, how society is going to judge you. But guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody really cares. We are fearful of things that are not going to matter. I don't care what my neighbor thinks of me. I don't care what my friends think of me. If they're going to fall off, that's fine, right? But that makes you go towards your authentic self more and more. And then when you discover that love that is in your heart, that's always been there, it's you're not going to want to go back to the old ways. And what happened to me was I saw, once I did that to myself, my son just blossomed. And um yeah, he's on his own journey. But I was able to teach him the formula without imposing, as what I used to.
I have so many questions, but I first need to know what is the formula?
Which formula?
The formula to
Inner peace?
inner peace.
Yeah. So this is like, I have it's available online if somebody Googles inner peace. uh, UMass still has it. I had like a presentation, so I because I wrote it up as a formula, right? So it is the the feminine energy plus the masculine energy within us. I'm not talking about anybody else. And once we learn how to overcome the shadow masculine and the shadow feminine, which is one of the shadow feminine energies, is victimhood. So once you overcome that, and the way you overcome, I also had a slide for that, and people were like, wow, how did you come up with that? So the way you overcome any shadow energy is by tapping into the positive uh,
Mhm.
aspect of the opposite. So if you have a shadow feminine energy, like victimhood, for instance, because you want to blame others, right? What is victim? Like just blaming somebody else for your own um, experience. But if you tap into leadership, for instance, which is a positive masculine energy, uh, and then you constantly keep doing step into the positive aspects, whatever that may be, and you will let go of the shadow side. It just will not survive. So and then when you do that, you'll find that heart, the heart, and then you serve from the heart. You serve from the heart. That's the magical formula.
If you see every shadow essentially as like a dark
Yeah,
a shadow is dark, right? A dark hole, there's an opposite matching flashlight
correct.
that you can pick up and that is not so scary anymore.
Correct. But it is up to us to step in to that opposite, right? So for me, for instance, I started looking at all the shadow, which was I had shadow on both. I'm forgetting the list. If I was prepared, I would know that list.
That's okay. This is not a lecture. If you want to go see the lecture, please look up for Inner Peace on UMass. We will drop it. We will drop the link in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
podcast links as well.
Thank you. So yeah, so if you examine, like when you have a list, right, you can identify what they are, and then just do the opposite. So for me, the way it looked was, I realized I had ADHD, and then I was a software developer, which I loved. So I had overcome lack of focus to hyper focus by doing things that I loved. But then, as I was uh, uh, overcoming my shadow, I realized, oh, I had to share because that's the masculine energy. How can I not share this piece of wisdom that I have, and relieve somebody else through the trauma that they may be experiencing, right? And that is the masculine. So when you find that uh, love of sharing for others, which is the feminine energy, right? Like empathy and sharing and caring, all of that. Um, I had to step into uh, leadership of just, when I say leadership, it doesn't have to be some big position, right? Even that speech, for instance, I had to deliver it. I had to deliver it formally. So you can see when you actually listen to that speech, you'll see me being very scripted the first few slides, and I had because this was the first time I was doing a public speaking thing, because I had never spoke. I was a software developer, right? There was no need for me to do this whole big speaking engagement. But then that time I was called to do it, because how can I go to the grave keeping this secret, right? And so that pushed me into doing this, and I had great reviews. But I also learned, like, a lot of my close friends from India, where I grew up, all logged in to see me because they were all cheering for me. And they all told me,
Wow.
yeah, they all told me that towards the end, where I really, I was shying. Towards the end, and also when I spoke freely, because there was a Q&A. You can see the Q&A, and you can see my authentic self, and they're like, oh, that's my Chaya, that's the Chaya that I know. So I was like, oh my god, my friends just told me just to be more free. And so but that's just an example of what stepping into leadership is, right? When you share with and be a little more brave than you were before. And it's okay if you are making mistakes, because that's normal. Everybody makes mistakes, and to let go of judgment, it was a big event for me. This was the first time. And also, why was I nervous? Because schooling had critiqued me of public speaking, because we had to memorize, and as an ADHD, I suck at memorization.
So bad at memorization. So bad. And it really, when you have to stand up there and you have been working on memorizing that thing for longer than you care to admit, and you still mess up, it's very demoralizing.
Totally. Right. So I thought I sucked at speaking in public, because because it was all that thing that was told to me, and I saw other people doing really good, so you immediately put yourself in a box of saying you're not good enough, right? And then I actually went to a workshop right before that speech, that presentation on how to speak from your heart, so that really helped. How to speak from your heart was an amazing workshop where your throat chakra is
Mm.
activated, because it's blocked. You know, all this, you have all that inner wisdom, but you cannot share it because of a lot of um, traumas, and yeah, so that is
When you speak like this in the world, I know I'm going all over the place, but we'll circle back eventually to something. Probably. Um, when you speak like this in the world, do you receive generally positive feedback? Do people think you're like talking nonsense?
it's up to it's up to them to judge, right? So far, I've had uh, good feedback just on LinkedIn when I share, or the listeners, right? Our listeners on our podcast, the Spark Launch podcast, is constantly growing, and we had it played in 32 countries. So it's all positive, but. I'm not, and did all my friends call me to say how awesome I was? No, they did not. But it's okay, right? This is what I mean by to let go of judgment,
Right.
right? Did my husband listen to every single podcast? Absolutely not. Did he say I did a good job? No. That's what I'm saying. But it doesn't matter, because we are looking for validation from
Mm.
our inner circle, right? So um, to let go of that and just step into your power authentically, because it was heard, right? My voice was heard by other people. When I'm talking about my podcast, that speech was different, because I had called all my friends to come and listen to me, because it was the first time, and it was a big deal for me. And but the rest, I learned to let go, because I have learned that expectation is the number one killer of authenticity, right? Expecting others to come and cheer you and say you're doing a great job. Uh, that kills authenticity right there, because now you've given the power away to somebody else. So you want to claim that.
Expectation is the number one killer of authenticity. And authenticity is the number one determiner of success. So expectation logically is the number one killer of success.
Totally. Exactly. Because you're giving the power away to somebody else. Right.
You totally gave up your control.
You totally gave up the control. And now you've given the control to somebody who might not be who might still be in their shadow energies. So now that I've talked about shadow. So they might have their own shadows, right? Their shadows could be different from your shadows. Now you've given the power away to somebody else, and their shadow is speaking. And so that's why you have to let go of expectation and speak your truth. And if you're speaking your truth at that moment, we don't have to be perfect. It's going to be heard, and it's a vibration. Authenticity is a vibration, and it's going to reach far and wide because it's pure.
As you were talking earlier, about your listeners, a very strong voice said, "Right, because 'cause they're listeners, not hearers." We're not talking to the people who can hear us. We're not talking to the people who have the capacity to intake sound in their ears. We're talking to the listeners, and the people who are listening are the ones who are meant to intake what you're saying. And if they're not listening, then
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I can't control that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the voice, right? And so dumb rules like eye contact, for instance, will kill uh, that uh, authenticity in the voice. Because just imagine if I'm forced to look at the camera and speak all the time, I can't. Uh, er, I can't be speaking from my heart because, from what I know with ADHD and autism, they access memory from different areas of the brain. And so they have to look up inside and um, whatever direction, close your eyes. I speak so many times for closing my eyes.
Mhm.
And and then access all that amazing information. So if I had to follow those rules, I wouldn't be speaking to my full authenticity.
Right. I'm sure that my team is laughing behind the camera right now because I you can people ask me, "Where are you looking?" I Now that you're saying that, I don't think I ever really counted how often people say, "Where are you looking?" But they're very confused when they're talking to me. And I say, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm definitely talking to you.
Exactly.
Where I'm looking is none of your concern."
Yeah. So that's a typical thing of because the neurotypical world says you will make a bit better impact if you're looking at the camera, right? False. I'm telling you right now to your team, it's false because
Well, this is very unsettling. If I'm talking to you like this, it's extremely unsettling and feels weird and unnatural. Like, stop staring at me.
yeah, exactly. Because of uh, because it's so scripted. It
Mhm,
feels scripted, right? And even the ums and ahs, all of those rules are, please get rid of those rules, really, and just talk from your heart. I mean, that's why you have the editors, right? Your team who will edit out the ums and ahs. Uh, but but because I even read somewhere on TEDx that the speakers actually have the ums and ahs and they edit out the video and they edit out the script, right? So when you listen to a speaker and you're like, wow, they speak so well, you forget that it's been edited,
mhm.
so it's not about saying these perfect things, but just tapping into our heart and tapping into that authenticity and speak your truth.
I also have incorporated when I need time to think about what I'm saying, I just stop talking, which also makes people a little uncomfortable. But words are very important to me. And I think that words have a very high importance for most neurodivergent people that I've met. Like words mean something. We take what we are saying very literally and seriously. So I like to pick the right word that really correctly describes how I'm feeling in the moment. And when I need time to find it, I just take my time. And someone else might start talking in the middle and I'll just say, "Oh, I'm not done, just looking for the right word. Give me a second. I'm just searching. I'll be right back." And then I'll come back.
That is so true because we are speaking to somebody's heart, right? When you speak, and that's why listening is so important because it's not how perfect it is. It's about, is it connecting to my heart? And so when you're speaking, you want to connect to somebody's heart. So yeah, you if you take time to pick the right word, then that's the right thing to do. And also, as an ADHDer, I've learned not to interrupt. It is a learned skill. So we have
It's learn, right? We can learn.
they can learn. That's a learned skill. I'm telling you because I have so many ideas. So I want to interrupt, but I don't. That's a learned skill. I have. So if you listen to my friends, they'll say, "Oh yeah, Chaya is an interrupter," because I have like so many ideas, and but I'm getting better. With friends, I take them for granted. They still are my friends. They'll still.
Mine too. And I have certain people that I'm allowed to interrupt. We're kind of like puppies. You know, puppies are always climbing over each other. We're all tracking, I'm tracking all of the conversations. And there's certain safe people that it's not offensive to them. And you can kind of have that puppy climbing all over each other conversation and have 6 conversations going at once, and it's okay. In our trio, I'm autistic and ADHD. We have one who is very ADHD, like hyperactive, inattentive to the max. And then our third, like, undiagnosed human in our trio who is more logical, level-headed, calm. So we don't always have our puppy conversations with them. Sometimes that's a little overwhelming for them. And it's okay. Understanding just everybody's comfort zone and how to show up authentically as ourselves within that.
I love how you said the puppy. It's so true. Right? And especially that's why when you have two ADHDers going, you're like, okay, I get you. You can interrupt me. I'll interrupt you. We have that agreement,
Exactly.
untold agreement. And I also want to say another reason that why ADHDers interrupt, just looking at my own journey is because of the short uh, working memory. I'm going to forget. If I don't interrupt and tell you right now, I'm going to forget. And that's why I carry this notebook, and pen when I'm doing things officially, not with friends on the phone. I will interrupt them because I'm going to forget this juicy piece of insight that I got.
Yeah. My This is a hard one for my kids. It's very difficult because older sister has tremendously wonderful working memory. She's a she has the best memory of anyone I've ever met in my entire life, by far and above. And the little one, she's only 7, so undiagnosed with anything, but she's like her mother. Um, and because I am attentive and I am sympathetic to needing to get the information out, I allow the younger one to interrupt more often than I allow the older one. And it drives her crazy because she is also like her mother, but kind of on the other end of things. They both are similar to one half of my brain, each in their own special way. But she can't stand it because she wants to get her full thought out, logic from A to Z, and I need to get all the information out. And the other one needs to get the information out as well right now. And that comes into conflict a lot, and I mean, I don't know what to do about it, but
Yeah.
I know that the conflicts exist.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see that with my husband, who's very detail oriented, has to get the facts right, and does not like to be interrupted. So this is a constant conversation in our
Mhm.
house, but we've accepted each other. And I always tell him this is how I am. And this is and that is another part of voicing your authenticity, right? With a loved one, you have to uh say who you are, but also respecting the other in a very personal relationship. That respect kind of goes off, right? Because I I expect my husband to understand my interruption while he expects me to understand that he needs to put his entire analysis out before me. This is so, but I love it. I mean, it is what it is, you know. So but with an ADHD, they understand me differently.
Yeah. I do think that we have a very wonderful capacity because neurodivergent people have such a strong desire for authenticity. I can accept anything as long as you tell me the truth,
Correct.
to the best of your ability at the time. You could tell me that you hate my stupid fat face, and as long as you told me to my stupid fat face, I am okay with that.
Absolutely. And we should be okay, right? Not everybody is expected to love you the way you are, right? Who are we? Like, am I so a popular? I don't get that at all. So, so it's okay if somebody doesn't like the way I am, right? We need to hear the truth and accept. If you're in my life, you should accept me the way I am, you know. And that's been key for any relationship. Even with my husband, who I met, I don't know, 28 years ago, we dated for a while, but, and before we got married, we had a long distance. For me, showing up authentic authentically in my relationship was way important before we actually committed ourselves. So I would test him actually without my knowledge. This was when I was in my 20s.
I
Um,
do it too.
yeah, right? Because you show up, I would show up like with even with makeup for like oily face, like oily hair, and I would just show up in his house, and he was oblivious to all of that. So which was like, yay, he likes me because I can't keep up with this perfect whatever exterior. How long will that last? And that's where the burnout. And that's exactly what burnout happens, right? Burnout.
If I had a primary partner
Yeah,
who cared if my legs were shaved, we'd have a problem.
correct.
We'd have a massive problem because, I could go 2 years, you don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even and it will be completely dependent on my mood at the time. That release from, as you were saying at the beginning, random rules
yeah,
is, I think, critical for an ADHD person and definitely for an ADHD woman. It's too much.
just
It's unsustainable.
yeah, exactly, right? Like, so the checklist, for instance, I mean, I haven't, this is like 25, 28 years, I think, before when I met my husband. Just imagine if I had gone through a checklist of what a guy should be, right? I would never have met him. So it's so you have to let go of all these things that you read and hear about what an ideal partner should be, and just start listening from your heart and your gut and your inner wisdom. And it's okay if we get into wrong relationships, right? That is part of our journey. You listen and you understand. Whatever your experiences always teach you something, and so there's always lesson. But I think whatever thing we do, we have to listen, do things from our heart at the
Mhm.
moment, because our heart takes us to our destination.
So what are some of those things that you had to release yourself from that resonate with us ADHD people? You spoke about time constraints or even the concept of time. Time is made up.
Totally made up.
I'm sorry, y'all. It is a construct. It's totally made up. Seconds and minutes and hours and days and months and weeks are not real.
They're not real, right? It's exactly that's key, and that was um, why I had anxiety. If you look at school, right, you have to memorize, fail right there, and then reproduce what you memorized in an exam.
Again.
Yeah, in an exam within a certain set of time, and not through your creative thinking and out of box thinking. It has to be produced exactly like what was written in the textbook. And now that is and then you're graded because of that, and you're judged because of that, and it doesn't serve an ADHDer at all.
I think I just figured out why I'm so bad at history and geography. Because, like, it always happened that way, and this happened first, and then that happened next, and then that happened. It will always be that way. It has already happened. So, like, why do I need to know? But, like,
Exactly. And and I had to remember the dates, and
well,
oh my god, it's trauma, right? There are certain things, unless I know a lot of ADHDers who love history. So there has to be some deeper meaning, but just memorizing dates and who won the battle, and it doesn't make sense. I'm like, okay, they fought, right? And they were wrong in fighting. First of
right. There was a course that I took 4 times over in university, the history of the welfare state. And, the way I crammed that information into my head didn't work until I sat down with my friend in a coffee shop and I was like, "Sorry, you're just gonna need to listen to me." And I told her the history of the welfare state in my way. Like, why does it matter that this was the history of the welfare state? Why did this happen first and why did it lead to the next thing? I still made up the dates. I literally only approximately remembered them because I remembered that this happened first and that happened after, and I kind of remembered that it happened between, like, 1904 and 1942, so then I just guessed. So I still didn't do well in that course. I ended up with a, I don't know, a 70 on my 4th time doing it, but it was the only way that I could remember the information because, like, I don't care otherwise.
exactly. I know. Sometimes if I have to remember, I try to associate like what you said with something else, right? For me to remember, I have to trick my brain, but it's exhausting. Oh
Yes.
God, it's exhausting.
Yep, use a mnemonic device. Where do you think those mnemonic devices sit in my head? My brain, every time I think about the brain structure, the hypothalamus, there was some British guy who did a video with mnemonic devices, and his mnemonic device for hypothalamus was hypo the llamas, where he like squirted llamas um with like a hose, a garden hose or something to regulate their temperature. So the hypothalamus is regulatory. That British guy put that image in my head 20 years ago, and that is the old that and still it takes up space in my brain.
Yeah. And that's why when you're a child, whatever you listen to stays for a long time because you don't question, especially if it's coming from somebody who's who you at that point think is has power, right? Can
Mm.
teacher, a parent, somebody that you're looking up to says something, you take it seriously because that's what a child does. They are sponges. They just soak in all the information and you don't question it, and you believe it. And that's the whole removing the trauma and overcoming challenges.
So interesting. I do this to my kids a lot. Um, I'll say something nonsense. I'll just like I'll throw in something ridiculous so that they'll challenge me. Because if I said something that didn't make any sense, it doesn't matter that I said it. It didn't make sense. And I want them to be really comfortable in pushing back because I that from that was it's one of my main strengths. as an ADHD person, and an autistic person is to be able to see the thing, find the logical flaw, pick out the problem, and solve it. That's what I like to do. So my brain does beautifully. But if I did that as a child, I was insolent and I didn't know my place. And you get pushed to the side because who takes kids seriously? Children grow into adults. And that remains that you're not a person who should be taken seriously. You don't all of a sudden grow into adulthood and lose what you had as a child. You take it with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because child still has a soul, and this is where, from my spiritual wisdom that I get, is it's nothing to do with your age, right? Because you have adults who are really old in a chronological way, right? Like in their 90s. Are they really intelligent, soul intelligent? No, right? So, and then you have this little child who's speaking the truth, right? All children speak the truth until they learn their truth is not appreciated.
Right.
And so, if you don't take a child seriously, you're missing out. And can speak. Here's the thing: children have not figured out vocabulary, right? They don't know how to put sentences together. They haven't learned emotional regulation, so they might speak through body language and just a tantrum, rolling on the floor. um, but if you don't understand deeply as to why that is happening and work with them, you're going to miss out. I mean, I'm telling you, I realized all of that when my son was 15, right? So I did the wrong things as well. I punished my son by making him sit in a naughty chair,
Yeah.
which is what, for doing the wrong things, right? I instead of kind of working with that, and working with the environment, because for ADHDers, environments play a huge role. I mean, neurodivergent, any neurodivergent. So so just I would have done it differently if I had this wisdom, but that's okay. That's okay, right? We're all evolving. Am I fully evolved? No. So, yeah, but children, they have so much to tell, and we can't just not listen to them and say they're a child.
They know, they just know. They're also, if you're a believer in reincarnation or in any of that, they're closer to the beginning than you are. Yeah. They're just they were right there, you know? If
Yeah.
somebody just graduated from medical school and they know the latest in medicine, and they're talking to somebody who graduated from medical school 50 years ago, they know the newest stuff, like they were just there.
Absolutely. This is in my understanding, right? In our my creative imagination, um, the way I see with the whole concept of reincarnation, um, it's the when you're born, uh, it is like the bank balance. You carry forward, right? You carry forward from your past life, and you
Mhm.
have a new beginning as a baby, and then you go from there towards your destination, whatever you want to learn and achieve in this world. And it's not about career, right? Everybody like, oh, this is our purpose is to have a great career and make lots of money. And so it's not that. We have so many lessons to learn through our journey. So we start off from there. So, and as you said, the child is, I mean, they don't know how to lie. So a baby is always speaking the truth, um until the the world denies that truth.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's that purity, and that's what spark in spark launch is that finding that divine wisdom that's inside of us.
Our desire, I think, as adults to deny that truth is very deeply ingrained. So what do we do in the West, at least with our children, when they're crying? We shush them and they like plug them up. Right? Our see no evil, hear no evil. It's just so strong. We can't sit in our own discomfort long enough to allow even a baby
Yeah.
to express whatever their real need is. They don't know how to do anything other than express needs.
Yeah, absolutely. The baby has learned already, right? That if you put the pacifier inside the mouth, that it should not cry, and it'll figure out the pattern. There's a pattern to it, and baby
Mm.
just smart. And yeah, you're teaching right there to not make the more a noise. And but it's a balance, right? It's a whole. That's why it's not as easy. So let's say you want to dine out and you're taking the baby with you, and of course you don't want your baby to cry. So I mean, that's why to give a universal advice for that situation is wrong. Like, what do I know about that family? Can they afford a nanny? Can they have a neighbor that they can trust, or maybe they can do a takeout? Right? The solutions can be whatever that works for them. um so to work with that is how we evolve, to find to be in inner peace all the time is our life goal, life purpose. We're looking for that constantly.
And I mean, that brings us back to the judgment piece, right? I was as you were talking of parents who are out, I was thinking of like iPad kids. You know, you go out to a restaurant and you see someone with the kid with an iPad and you think like, "Huh."
Yeah,
You don't know.
you don't know.
This could be the first time they're sitting down to dinner together in 6 months.
Yeah,
He could have just gotten back from overseas for 2-year deployment. You have no idea what is going on, or it's possible that they're just hungry, right? Or they're like, you don't know what's going on.
exactly. I exactly 1000%. How can we judge somebody? We don't know anything. We're just getting a glimpse of them in a restaurant. We can't really judge. And that's where our growth is, right? To not judge. Because the second you judge others, you're going to judge yourself.
Exactly. It attunes you. It's like the dial on a radio. If you're dialed into judgment, that's where you're gonna stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I judge you, you judge me, and I judge me. And then we'll all stay small, and we'll all be in our shadow and not. And yeah, so the second we stop judging others, even politically, for instance, I mean, everybody has a different view. And if we just respect others views, and I don't even want to know. So here's I hate politics because I see everybody as souls, right? And so for me, uh, I don't even want to know what they stand for, because I want to love everybody. This is my purpose is to find love in every soul, right? And I'm working towards that. And so don't say something that you're going to make me go into my shadow side. Right?
Don't say something dumb because I'm coming back. Wait, Mike, you just
Right. I know. And that's why you have to be picky and like about who you interact with, create boundaries. Nobody taught me how to create boundaries, right? I wish these are the things that are taught in school instead of just those grades and memorization. How to be a good human.
yeah. we're um we're all learning. I think the only time that we fail is when we decide that we are done and that you know everything, right? If you enter a situation as the expert, and even more unfortunately, if you enter everything as if you're always the expert, you're really robbing yourself.
Totally. And then,
Even if you are, you could be the most expert.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Because that's the closed mind, right? Uh, Anybody who says they're an expert has a closed mind. I'm telling you right now. And that's why I absolutely hated titles on LinkedIn until I had to step up into my own leadership. And it's, you can make up whatever title, right?
Yep.
The thing is, do you have the solution? That's the key. Um, but if you say you're an expert in any field, you're closing your mind right there. So the the way we grow is to be open to every kind of input, everything. Um, but my intuition knows what to listen to and what not to listen to. Like, I'm not going to watch the news and just um, uh, corrupt my energies. So that uh, I'm open to people's different opinions, but I don't have to listen to that every single day. I get it. I get people are different and everybody has an angle. I see that we all are seeing things from our a lens, right?
You
And
can't see things through anyone else's lens.
yeah,
And it might surprise people, but there's everyone's vantage point is legitimate. And I know that there are some people, many of them in my own family. But when I say something like that, they think I'm being like, well, how would they call it? Like artsy fartsy. Like, oh yeah, everyone's legitimate. But you only see things through your lens. I see everything through the lens as the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. And it drives some people really crazy. I talk about the Holocaust all the time because we're in my family, we literally talked about the Holocaust every single day. It was what informed the way that my family saw everything. And for me, it informs the way I see everything sort of on the flip side, right? I know that that is how I see everything because it's been colored that way. And so too everybody.
yeah,
Not only their personal family life and what happened to them, but their family's history and their subgroup's history informs who they are even before you get to epigenetics or any of that. It's just in their life's blood.
yeah, um, yeah. So that's one thing we have to. It's a colored lens, right? It's um, so so if you see somebody from your lens, that's the problem. And so to step away from that lens and just accept them for who they are and not make any judgments. And that's where that judgment happens, right? When you start seeing through a lens. And but if you can make a conscious decision, right? So people who are listening to us might say, I get it. Oh, okay, that explains. But then tomorrow you'll be presented with uh, that scenario.
Mhm.
And then you have to make that right choice. And that's how you get over your shadow because there was lack of awareness before that. And you can forgive yourself for that because I didn't know. Like, if I had to blame the things that I've done wrong, there would be no end to it. So you forgive your past self for lack of awareness, lack of wisdom, and then step into this role, this new you. And that's how you transform. You just transform from victimhood to becoming your own leader.
It's so I mean, this is an amazing place to wrap up, but I'm I'm struck with how often I stand in my own way because I'm annoyed that things shouldn't be the way that they are, right? And I think that that's something that I hear a lot is like, but it's a kind of like a, but it's not fair energy, right? That victimhood. It's not fair. I know that if my room is clean and tidy, my entire house is clean and tidy. Not because I clean the rest of my house if I clean my room, but because if I have cleaned my room, my kids see my clean room, they clean their rooms, and it spreads that way. But I don't want to be the person who does, who always is doing the thing.
Right, right. And this is that, like that particular scenario. What you just said, that's an assumption, right? Your kid might not even notice it.
Right.
and and I know from what I read in Bhagavad Gita is that people, you learn through self-realization. Self-realization is the only way that your soul becomes aware. So sometimes they have to smell their own wrath to realize that, right? So you gotta let them be in their mess, and it's gonna hit them one day. And so it's up to us to not react to it, so that there's always growth there. You can share wisdom, you can learn to communicate that in different ways, by subtle ways. With my son, I started sharing reels. Like, it was not coming from me. Instagram reels. We communicate a lot through Instagram reels, right? First of all, it's not coming from me. So it's different when you present it differently, and it works beautifully. Um, so you'll figure out your own way of communication, so you can still talk to your kid without being in that phase. And each one's formula is different. What I just said works for me, but now my son is telling me so many things. He's 20, right? And so when kids grow up, they are like, oh my god. And so does he agree with me 100%? Absolutely not. And it's okay. It's okay to be different. It's beautiful to be different, actually. Imagine if we are all the same, we would be robots.
Boring.
Boring.
Very boring. Wow. So if we had to sum up essentially the journey to being good and inner is the inner peace. The journey to inner peace is doing the next right thing to the best of your ability without judgment.
Without judgment. And so do when you find that heart, that love in us, use that love to serve somebody else, right? So that's your work, that's your purpose. And it can be one person, it can be your dog, it can be your cat. It doesn't matter. And this is where leadership, it's not about how many people are you leading, or it's not about that. It's just about you found that peace inside, and now you share that with others. Like, this conversation has been amazing.
Gross.
I love it because we're speaking from our hearts fearlessly.
Yeah. This is also very much where I am right now. I was throwing a temper tantrum right before we jumped on because I had an intensive weekend with my business coach in which he essentially told me that um I owe the universe collateral and I need to serve in my purpose before I can earn serving in my passion. That might be what you want to do, but there's something else that you need to do first, and the universe is demanding that collateral from me, and I don't want to. Um, but it's what I'm good at and it's what I'm here for. And as you're talking, I realized that everything in my life has allowed me to learn a very specific type of compassion that has brought me to the point that I'm at right now, where I'm really prepared to serve. Um, and I'm just very grateful to you for this conversation, which is very much at a precipice moment for me where I need to step into something that I don't want to, but it's right.
Yeah. Uh, Good for you. It's that self-realization that I was talking of.
I want to cry. That it's okay. It's good. It's a beautiful thing. And like he says, if you want to do things on your own, if you do things on your own timeline, it's um you'll have to pay God's price or the universe's price. And if you want to do things on the universe's timeline, God's timeline, then you'll have to pay your own price. So this is the price. You got to put in the collateral if you want to do things on the universal timeline. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay universal prices and those tend to be very steep. We don't want to be paying those taxes.
I love it.
Taya, thank you so much for being here, and for talking to us about your journey and how you got to this place. Um, how can people find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I always respond to my messages. If I have not, please apologize and write back. And on my website, which is sparklaunch.org, there's a contact. So just write to me. But LinkedIn has been fantastic. Great place to network.
Awesome. So please check out Chaya and Spark Launch as well as your podcast. Thank you, Squirrel, so much for being here with me and for going through this twisting, turning episode. I hope that you gained from it as much as I did. And we will see you next week. Bye bye.